Welcome, everyone, to the Dr. Blue Duck podcast. And are my kids gaming too much? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, the big difference we might want to think about is back when us gaming dads, were young. I was a kid in the 80s, so I remember playing on the original NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, games like Zelda and Mario, games like 2D platformers. But something to keep in mind is that our kids today are not playing games that simple and that basic. They're playing games like Goat Simulator 3 or Fortnite or Minecraft, where they're in these 3D immersive environments that are very different from our old school 1980s 2D platformers. So keep that in mind. So you might hear someone say, well, hey, I was gaming when I was 5, or I was gaming when I was 6. I think I started gaming when I was 6 or 7. But the games that we played back then were a lot simpler and not as immersive or realistic as the games that kids are playing today. Now, games like Goat Simulator 3, I know that was like a super fun game for my son to play. I played it with him for a while, but I got to a point where I could just kind of tell. I felt like it was stressing out his little brain at 4 years old at the time, being in an immersive 3D environment where he was looking all around in this different world, and it was fun. But I just felt like it was too much for him. So I took him aside and I was like, son, daddy was wrong. Forgive daddy. I'm sorry. I got you started in this game too early. It's a game for older kids. So then I introduced to him Mario Wonder, and that's what we've been playing a lot lately. A game that's a little bit more simplistic for his age. I thought before I was paying more attention to like content, but also just the graphics and the realism is some, not in Minecraft, but in some of the other games, is just a little bit too much. So keep that in mind as we talk here about kids gaming too much. A lot of it deals with age. So although I started when I was 6 or 7, our kids starting at 6 or 7 might be very different because the games are so different than what they used to be. So something to keep in mind: mood swings and outbursts of anger when asked to stop. So if you go and you ask your kid to stop, or you say, hey, the timer's up, you played for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, it's time to put it away, and they just blow up and they just freak out on you, they might be gaming a little bit too much. They might be getting too into it. They might be getting a little bit too addicted to it. So keep that in mind. So that's one way to kind of tell if maybe they're too young or not at a mature state to play yet. And you might be thinking, hey, I know grown men who have mood swings and outbursts when they're asked to stop. But realistically, with kids, if it's something where they are just out of control when they stop and they hit or fight or anything like that, maybe they're gaming too much. Maybe there needs to be some more limitations or more strict time limits placed on them, or maybe it just needs to be put away, shelved for a few months or a few years until your kid gets to a different maturity level. Another thing to watch out for, to maybe answer your question, is, or are your kids gaming too much, is a loss of interest in real life activities. So if they're all about a fictitious world in a video game and they're not about their real life, hey, that's a warning signs right there. I wouldn't necessarily say right at first that's a red light, but it's definitely a yellow light. And it's also some motivation for us parents to try to make the real life a little bit more interesting. And a warning here for parents, and I know cell phones are super addictive. I have issues with my cell phone all the time, just always being on it. Sometimes I just have to put it down. There's been times I've just thrown it on the bed and walked out of the room because I'm just interested in learning stuff all the time, and I can learn anything at any moment right there on my phone. And sometimes I just got to put it aside and just pay attention to real life. So how can we expect our kids to want to put down an interesting, exciting, adventurous video game to be a part of real life if we're just there on our phones, not even a part of real life? So our job too as parents is to encourage them to see the joy and the fun and the adventure in real life, so they're not always just going to a video game. Maybe have video games be something like, hey, I do that when I'm sick or I'm not feeling well or when we're not able to do something else, but hopefully your child would much rather do something else, do something real. So taking breaks are good. Breaks are good, not just for, you know, resting, but for mental rest and eye strain as well. So eye strain, it's a serious thing. Now you might not know it, but I've had multiple eye surgeries on my eyes. My vision is 20/20, but I've had some many issues. I have dry eye syndrome. I see my optometrist about like 4 times a year. And one thing he told me about gaming, and one of his concerns about gaming is that he's reading me some stats that gamers, when they're playing, sometimes only blink their eyes 5 to 7 times per minute compared to the normal 15 to 20 times a minute of someone who's not playing a video game. And blinking is important because it helps moisten the eye and keep the surface of the eye healthy. And less blinking causes more dryness, it causes discomfort. And if you don't blink over a long amount of time, it can cause some other serious issues as well. So there's always the popular 20-20-20 rule, which means every 20 minutes you take a serious break, a real break. You focus on something 20 feet away, and you for at least 20 seconds. So focus on something else 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds to give your eyes a time to rest, so they're just not straining and being dry for so long. Because eye fatigue's a real thing, and we can kind of sense when our eyes are getting dry, but a little child, a kid, might not know that. So they might just be playing and playing and playing and not realizing the strain and the possible damage that could be happening to their eyes. Something else to be concerned about if your child is playing games too much is if they are connecting more to a fictitious character or a video game than their own identity. So if their identity rests mostly in a video game or a character of a video game over their own identity, that could be an issue. That could be a warning sign for us parents to be like, hey, maybe they need to take a break on all the gaming. I want to go back to the eyes for a moment because this is something I forgot. It's kind of cool to have a gaming room where you have your monitor or TV screen super bright and you have all the lights off. And it seems like that's a neat way to game, but that's actually not a super healthy way for your eyes to game. So have other lights on for your kids when they're gaming. Don't have them game in darkness with just their TV or monitor on. And it's good for us to show by example healthy gaming habits so that they can actually follow in our example, not just by our words. Another warning lights for if your child is gaming too much is if family time to them becomes a chore, if it's something that they don't really want to do, but they have to do. And that's not a warning light just about gaming, but about your family as a whole. Hopefully, and I know kids grow up and become teenagers and then parents aren't cool anymore, but we can still do as gaming dads, as dads, we can still create a household that's encouraging, a household that is fun, a household that is optimistic. And I want to add this, a household that is adventurous. Now, adventurous doesn't mean that you have to go out and spend tons of money or have tons of money to spend to go on some exciting adventure many states away or in some foreign country. Adventure, especially for a little kid, could just be going to the park and going down the big slide. It could be getting on the scooters and scootering around the neighborhood. I mean, you can make anything adventurous for a little kid. It might be putting both of your sons on your back and walking around and going a little bit faster than normal. Little things like that are adventurous. So it's good to make real life adventurous, real life enjoyable. So kids aren't always just wanting to game for fun or game for adventure, that they're seeing that in real life as well. Now, this one is probably a little bit more for older kids, kids that take care of themselves a little bit more. But if you see that your child is lacking in health or poor hygiene, maybe it's time to help themselves by putting some limits on their gaming time so that they can still help their body by working out or exercising and just keeping their body clean. When they keep their body clean, their nails trimmed, their teeth flossed and brushed, and a decent haircut every now and then, that can help them feel better about themselves and less connected to a character and more connected to their rural identity. So I think poor hygiene, lack of exercise, that might be some indicators for maybe your child is gaming too much. And also, get them outside so they get some of that natural vitamin D. Get them in the sunlight. We all need to be in the sunlight, especially kids. Now, this right here is especially for older kids. Online relationships. Now, I don't like my kids doing anything online because they're so young and there's some really creepy people out there in the world. But if you do allow your kids, maybe they're preteens or teens or whatever, if you do allow them to have relationships with people online, make sure that they have more relationships with people in real life. Have those be the real relationships. Now, every other Thursday night, there's a few guys from my life group at church. We get together and we play some Fortnite, and it's pretty fun because, they're in my earphones. We're all right there. It feels like they're right there next to me because back in the day when we would all play games on the couch, your friends were right next to you and you weren't really looking at them. You were looking at the screen. And in the same way, when we play online, I hear them next to me and I'm looking at the screen. So it kind of feels like they're really there. But here's the deal. Every Sunday when I go to church, I see these people in real life. And there's something valuable about seeing people in real life. There's something important and human about having real life relationships by having real life friends. And it's cool, it's cool to have some friends and people you talk to digitally online, but I totally believe we as humans need that real life connection. We need to be connected to people in real life, seeing them face to face at certain times. So solutions, what do we do with all this? What do we do? I mean, it's tough being a dad. It's tough being a dad with all this technology that's out there these days. But I would say this. One thing that we can do is lead by example. And it's probably not the answer we want. It's easy to tell kids to do something and expect them to do it, but we have to lead by example. We got to lead by example by priorities, setting the right priorities in the right order. Putting my wife and first, my kids first, my job first, putting my responsibilities first, my community, all of that's my health before a video game. Now, I love video games, and to me, they're somewhat valuable, but people always come first. People always come first. And I hope and pray that my kids see that in me, that they see that people come before a video game. Even though I love video games, I always want people to come first. So hopefully I lead that by example, and even myself, to put myself before a video game and focus on my own health, on my own fitness, so that I'm around for people as long as I can possibly be around. And that's a way that I can sacrificially love my family, even though I might want to just game for a few hours or stay up late gaming and miss going to the gym in the morning. One way I can sacrificially love my family is by, limiting my gaming time so that I am energetic enough in the morning to go to the gym or to prepare my lunch so I eat something healthy at work, to put myself and my health before gaming so that way I can put other people, my family, before my gaming as well and before myself. So being a responsible gaming. Now, it's okay to be a supporter and an advocate of gaming while being responsible at gaming. And I believe there needs to be more people like that. And that's one of the purposes of this channel, Dr. Blue Duck Video Podcast, is to encourage us dads, to get us dads together in a community so that we can encourage other dads to be responsible, to be good gaming dads. Dads that not necessarily are good at gaming, but are good at being dads. Dads that game who are good at being dads. Because we hear so many issues in our society where dads are just not there. They're not present. They come home from a stressful day at work and maybe they game for like 3 or 4 hours, neglect their family. They're exhausted and then they do the same thing the next day. And that's not just gaming, that's all types of things. Some dads do that with golf. Some dads do that with, being in some sort of sports league. Some dads go to a bar and drink a couple hours after work every day. So it's not just gaming, it's all of those things. Everything out there can be abused and can take away from you being a dad. So in gaming, I think it's an innocent thing, but it can be abused. Just like the internet, there's some very good things that the internet can do. And it's a great tool. It's a great vehicle for a lot of things. And maybe even this podcast, but it can be abused and people definitely abuse it. Just like gaming, I think gaming is a great thing, but people abuse it. Gaming dads, let's not be the people that abuse it. Let's know where it fits into our life and lead by example so that our children see that and they live a responsible life where they can enjoy the hobby of gaming, but do so responsibly. So some more solutions. Maybe in your family, there needs to be some tech-free times, some technology-free times. Maybe that's at dinner. Maybe there's specific family time. Maybe it's bedtime. I don't know. Maybe there needs to be some boundaries set in certain places. I know in my classroom at work, there's some boundaries with my art students where they're not allowed to be on their cell phones at certain times because it's just a distraction. Technology is amazing, but also, I had a really good childhood. I really enjoyed my childhood in the 80s. I really relate to, but I really enjoy the Stranger Things series because that was a lot of my childhood, minus all the, creepy stuff. But the good times in that, well, that was me. That was me as a kid. That was my childhood. So it just brings me back to that time. So I had a great childhood growing up with more minimal technology, but the world today is so full of technology, and we're even seeing that more and more with the growing and the huge growth of AI technology. It's good at times, I believe, to set some limits and just kind of go back to the old days and just take breaks on technology. And to teach your children and to apply to yourself as well, but to teach your children the value of reality versus digital. So we have the real world versus the digital world. And the digital world can look great. I mean, those representative pixels on a screen can seem pretty real at times, but let's teach them the value of things that are real, things that are tangible, real life relationships, or even holding a book. Man, I have hundreds of great books on my iPad through my Kindle app. But there's sometimes something special about holding a real book. One of the pastors at my church, we used to meet up for coffee a lot and talk about music and stuff. And I would see his Bible and it was so worn. Pages were like taped in and falling out. And I was thinking, bro, you could just go to, a store and buy another Bible for like $15. But there's something special about that one that he had because he held it through so many different situations and times in life. And there's something special about that my digital Bible on my iPhone will never have. So to be able to hold something that is tangible and something that is real and something that is worn out, there's something that that digital media is missing. Okay, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I can almost illustrate it to like a person. We as people, we grow old, we start to get worn out, but with that is experience. And when you have experience and when you have things that are worn, that means that life happens there, that real life happens. So an old man, he went through real life. a worn Bible, that thing has experienced real time in real life. So there's so much more than representative pixels on a screen, even though those pixels are fun to game with and to have photographs with and to read on sometimes. One of my buddy teachers, he used to teach photography, and he would always tell his students, don't let your photos die as a pixel on a screen. And he would mean to take your photographs, those pixels, and to print them so they're actual photos that people can hold and touch with their hands. And he was a big supporter of that. And even that got me kind of into Polaroid photography, where you take a picture and it comes out and you just have that image right there that you get to look at, that one original image. And I know it's like, a small image, it's not great resolution or anything like that, but there's something special about that. And there's something special about knowing the value of the real world versus the digital world. So overall, gaming dads, gaming can be a great hobby. It can be a fun hobby. It can be an adventurous time of recharging. But just like anything else, it can be abused. And it's our job as gaming dads to teach our children that. Okay, so let's do it by example. Let's do it well. Let's be supporters of the gaming hobby, but at the same time, teach them how to live and game responsibly. So what are your thoughts on that? What did I leave out there? Let me know what I left out. I'm sure you guys are, some of you are way more experienced dads than I am. So what else can you add there to help this gaming dad community grow? What advice can you add to help other gaming dads out there? So as always, be kind, use your mind, and game on.